Grab some coffee, grab a kettlebell. Let's get some movement in. Feet a little wider than your hips. Hold on to your hips. Hinge back. Ooh, that was a nice double shoulder pop. Wow. Somebody's stiff this morning. Let's open up here in a long way. Get some arch in your back. Neck mirrors what the low back is doing. So pull your head back. It's going to allow your butt to lift up behind you and up towards the ceiling. Should feel really good. Should feel like you're opening up all the nerve spaces in your body. Pulling your shoulders down, levering your shoulders down towards your pockets. Creating space. Feet are going to get tired. What are our feet telling us here? You should be able to lift your toes. You should be able to push the balls of your feet hard into the ground. Heels hard into the ground. So press your hips back. The front of your body is actually pulling you down. Our QL, strong, maintaining curve in the low back. So here it's almost like we're pressing our feet forward. Like I'm in the bottom of a forward lunge. My foot is pressing. It's driving me back. Go ahead and do a few of those. Get that feeling. Get the toes out of the mix. Take a big step forward. Down here. Driving. Pressing myself back. That's the sensation we want here. Pressing. Like I'm about to jump backwards. Do you notice a difference? Let's do some good mornings in each foot here. Hug those lats in, keep this long ring posture. I'm pressing the balls of the foot. I'm spreading my feet. I'm pushing that forward foot more forward as I hinge. I should turn on the hip flexion in the front. And then I'm grabbing the ground, dragging the foot, dragging the forward foot behind me. Working the different chains of the body, chains in the front of the leg, chain in the back. Compare. Drive away. Scissor, squeeze. Add some weight to it. Behind your back. Do a couple. Both feet now. Still pay attention. Lift the toes. Drive the balls of the feet down. Should feel good on the low back. People can put a lot of weight here and do a good morning and not have their low back get angry. So we're really stiffening the spine. Very aggressive on the way down. That's the trick. We're not just bending at the spine. That's where you're going to feel it. Not the good type of feeling it. Talked a lot about the breath, getting back to the basics. Sometimes we're focusing on different basics. Talking about the feet today. Couple one leg over the other. Hinging on the forward leg. Fight for it. just pressing the ground away, we're also going to be working a muscle here. So you should feel the front of this ankle. I can tell a bad hip by that ankle being restricted. We need that ankle motion. The bottom of the squat as we get down. Same thing, we're pushing the ground away. Like I'm about to jump backwards. That's how much drive I'm putting into the ground. So I'm lifting the toes. It's also going to help keep your heels down if your toes are lifted. Balls of the feet pressed down. Let's do a couple squats with me. Try to find the engagement here, that stiffness in the front of the hips. A little pinchy sensation. Should be shaky at the end there. You shouldn't just be flopping into this. Remember the neck. What the neck is doing mirrors the low back. So the neck is lengthened, pulling backwards, not drifting forward, not extending. That's going to save your low back. Let's do some get-ups. So I'm reaching back, pushing the ground away, gripping the ground, pulling myself up. Driving the ground away, spreading the floor, squeezing the floor, spreading the floor, squeezing the floor. Try to get that burn going on in here. Spreading the floor, squeezing the floor. Soft knee at the bottom there. Lightly tap. If you got a problem, child, focus on it. One side that's not working. One side that feels sloppy or weak. Feel like you can't press that foot forward on one side. Good, shake it off. You're warmed up. Just getting our brain talking to these chains of muscles. From your feet all the way to your hips. The spine is responding by being strong. Lats are strong. It's going to change everything we're doing. Let's go into our deadlift. So I think I'm pushing the ground away hard. Lifting those toes. Press the ground away. Strong stance. Really make sure you get full extension here. Squeeze that butt at the top. Really focus on going back down to the ground, like driving it. Good. Do our get up with the kettlebell. Step back, pressing that ground away. See what happens to my hip? I press the ground away. I step back, I press the ground away. See how the hip shot back? I'm engaging that hip flexor. If I don't, you can see what happens to the spine. The correction is drive that hip back. Drive it back before you let the knee bend, and keep pressing the floor. Keep spreading the floor. So at the top, we get that hip back. do a couple passes. Pass that kettlebell through the leg. Ooh, that's gonna test the balance. It helps you. Try and keep those toes up the whole time. And challenge your balance more. We don't want those toes sandwiching and gripping, creating a weird arch. The toe, the balls of the feet, where the arch starts. So keep the ball of the big toe, ball of the little toe on the ground the whole time. Just another 5 and 5. Just a couple to set it, and then we'll do the passes. Down to that kettlebell. Squeeze in the ground. Spread in the ground. Reach that hip back. Notice the torso angle. So kind of straight up and down here. Torso angles forward. That's going to match the shin angle at the bottom. A couple passes. Set that hip back. Push. Good. If that's not burning like crazy, then you're crazy. Whew. I like going barefoot. Maybe this is for another day, but we'll give you a little bit of talk about it. It's not just the foot spreading the floor or squeezing it, but that can happen in this plane this way. So, some heels will roll in at the bottom of the squat. See, I'll kind of show it here on my right. That rolls in. You'll notice the knee cave. So a band, maybe around the ankles to start, as some studies have shown the ankle actually helps the hip connection even more than traditionally taught above the knee, but I just hit all the waypoints. So now I'm pressing, I'm driving out against that band, getting my ankle pretty neutral. Let's go toes up again. Now we're going for that full squat. Don't forget your breath. I spent so much time in these videos talking about the breath. So go back, go over that. That's really important step 2. We just don't have time if we keep hitting all this stuff. So decompression breath, do the foundation training, intra-abdominal breath. Think about the feet today too. Now we're spreading, what is this, coronal, sagittal plane, whatever this is, the frontal plane, spreading right to left. Tearing the floor apart, tearing this band apart. Don't need the band, it's just a reminder for your brain that's caving you in. You want to drive out against it. It's going to help your knees track over the middle of your foot, nice and easy. Notice any difference there in the hip? The foot is coaching the hip. Actually feeling more burn on the left. Harder to get that one open. It's probably my more dominant hip flexor. So when we're opening up the knees, we're squeezing the glute. Squeeze that glute. We're trying to maintain that curve in the low back. Don't do the butt tuck. Nothing happened down here. Nothing happened to that. I bypass the whole chain when I do it like that. Your spine's doing the work. Might even look like a half decent squat. See this all the time. But hopefully you can notice that is not proper mechanics. That will really hurt myself in the long run. Eventually your knees and your back can't do that. You've got to rely on your hips. And you'll realize how SOL you really are. So let's start at the hips. Feet, hip connection. Get the chain firing. It's stiff. Should feel like you're moving through wet cement. Notice the difference? You'll feel the difference. It's 10 times harder. Change isn't easier. Training isn't easier. Re-educating the body. Let's bring it up higher. See what you feel. Go above the knee. Same idea. Might even depend where your restrictions are. Sometimes the band helps break up. We've done a couple videos, ankle mobilizations with bands. This kind of helps with that. Same thing here. Driving the band apart. Planting the feet, maybe even first. Get those feet set. You'll feel those little extensor digitorum, tibialis anterior. You'll see them working. Maybe your toe spread isn't great like mine, whatever. You're still trying, best as you can. Driving that band open. Breath. Maybe just hold that and breathe. That's hard enough. Breathe. Foundation training that's called the outward anchor. So if you're digesting their material, you're seeing their videos, they're showing these chains of muscles for you. So you'll get the visual. This will help you with your strength training. We're driving the ground apart. For me, that helps pin the ball to the big toe, then I can drive, get the ball the little toe down. I'm set up where I need to be. I love their surf squat. Let's do that. It's gonna be really fun with the band. So we go down, and I'm gonna go for a little more depth. Left thumb, sternum, other hand, opposite knee. Bringing that elbow across the body. It's really gonna help me drive the band apart. Away from the side. Driving that band apart. That neck strong. Low back strong. QL really tight. Protecting the spine. Maintaining that neutral curve. That lumbar curve. Other hand. Drive that band apart. That hand is helping opening one knee. Elbow high, stretch the lat. That should burn those glutes out. Band itself, this is kind of a heavy band. That's not the goal. Just need a little input, just like your feet. That's why we're barefoot. We need that tactile response. You don't realize how much your foot is shimmying around in your shoe when you're doing these types of movements. The ankle's turning and rotating. It shouldn't be. You are rooted, like a tree, pressing into the ground. We don't want any motion, any movement. I can feel like this subtle bit. You feel that, lock it down. Only go to the point you can. If I go farther, I feel maybe a knee roll in, or the heel starts rolling in. Avoid that. Hang out in that uncomfortable area. Don't break the chain. Starts in the ankle, comes up to the hip. Back to our kettlebell. It's a lot, just breathing. I haven't really done much weight training yet. Get some water. Foregoing the coffee myself today. Kind of realizing I can't drink coffee and work out at the same time. Just a good name for a show, right? Coffee and kettlebells. So let's get our split stance. This is just a fun one. We're doing our swing here in the split stance. Same stuff, hinging that forward hip. Give you another angle. I'm kind of starting from the ground too. Kettlebell's out front. Pushing the ground away with that forward leg. Same thing. Don't really have to think about this all the time. It's just some people just don't notice how they're not driving that foot, forward foot into the ground. You're gonna set up the stretch right here. A little bit in the hamstring. Tall spine, getting curved. You're pulling your head up. Your head is guiding engagement in the low back. Hinge as much as humanly possible. Don't just survive, really thrive. Really get this thing moving. Test your balance. Normally this weight is nothing, but in this split stance it really challenges you. So if you got a cheap kettlebell, a little 10-pounder or whatever, it's a good way to do it. That arm is coming down. I'm pushing it with my thighs. Let's switch it up. Let's do the other side. So kettlebell a little bit forward to the leg. Don't have to be on a balance beam. In fact, don't be. Even in foundation training, sometimes I'm going nice and wide. In the hinge, most of the weight's in the front leg. And we press, goes 50-50, maybe a little extra weight in the back leg. Don't arch your spine. We're squeezing the glutes. Spine still really isn't moving there. Bringing the pubic bone forward, really straight spine. Pubic bone comes behind. Nobody looks like Billy here. Those guys underneath, maybe a little bit behind. Not anatomically correct or common. Most people, we sit it out here in the front. Our SI joints are our center of gravity. And we sit on our SI joints. And we wonder why we go back in all the time. Pubic bone, center of gravity. We do both sides. Do them again, just a few. If you want, you can take this into the snatch. Let's see how it goes. There's your challenge your body. You can step into it if you want. Probably in frame or not. I think you saw it. Don't do that until you're ready for it. Stay with swings. Just showing you where you can go with it. Switch it up. If you can't even lift this weight, you need to hang out here. Just tip that kettlebell a little bit towards you. Experience just driving. You're preparing. That prep is that perfect posture. Pushing with my hip. It's not my arm that lifts it, it's the leg that gets that in the air. And the arm is guiding it. But it's pressing, going into that hinge. That's why the kettlebell swing is effective. Teaches you to really drive that ground away. I always say back to basics and then do something silly. Let's meet up overhead. How are we gonna get this overhead? Get it up overhead. If you need to, you do two hands. Just hold that right there. Do some lunges. So start with some reverse. Reverse is more what we're doing in the swing. Forward lunge, a little different, but it gives us that drive. Going back to my standing position. Shoving that ground away. Like your Leonidas and your Spartan kicking that emissary of the Persian king. This is Sparta. Bunch of boomers, you're gonna have to look that one up after we're done. If you're feeling good about that, go double. Especially if you got leg kettlebells. Put those boys overhead. Just do 5 reverse, 5 forward, each leg, 20 taller. Take a breath. This is gonna be rough. Use the glasses. So the snatch, it's just easier for me to snatch these. Lock them out. Can burn out each leg, that's even harder. I'm switching sides. 4. Here we go, forward lunge. Sparta. That was 5. Leave an eye break. And I forgot to switch these weights. Yeah, heck no, you're probably not gonna get 20 in a row unless you're doing lightweight. Take a break, get through it, but you get through it. If you got through really fast, think about the principles. Not saying you didn't do them. Slow it down, do it again. Do a couple facing. Similar weight, but don't want to overload one side without evening it out. It's okay to load one side. That's actually really good. Messes with your brain a little bit. For me, it was the right leg forward. That's where the arthritis is. 10 years ago, I had an x-ray. Haven't had one since. Let's go look back 10 years ago. A lot of people, most people that come in are like, oh, 10 years ago, I was great. I want to get back to that. I look back 10 years ago, I said, no way. So much better. You should be physically, mentally, spiritually better. When I'm 45, I want to look back and be like, 35, and I was making these stupid Facebook videos. I had no idea what I was talking about. I had no idea my potential. Yeah, as soon as you start hitting 70, 80, especially if you've never trained in your life, never taught your body how to move, you have a long road ahead of you. Going through that 14-week program on foundation training, that's just the start. It starts here. You're never too old, just people too old in their brain. They're already defeated. I want somebody to fix them. I'm done chasing those people. You give me an ounce of effort, I'll give you a truckload of effort in return. Give me none, you're not gonna get any. That's how it works. Not just here, but everywhere. Let's hit a couple good squats. And we'll finish up with overhead. We'll move you over here. First, let's do a couple squats. So we got our little setup here with the rack, also known as a railing. Find something sturdy. Get my band. Yeah, you want something good, something heavy. You know, 54 kilograms. I'm gonna tie this here. I made a couple YouTube shorts if you want some quick information. But ultimately what we're trying to do is maintain that curve. No, you shouldn't rely on the band. But maybe just do this with your squats. Show you a few without. I'll show you wrong and right. To the best of my ability to do right. 10 years, it might not be that right. We're always improving, we're always evolving. Last year we showed the back, last year we showed the back squat. Not doing that here, we're going rack. It can help drive you really deep, but it can override the QL and the psoas, which are the major stabilizers. So the breath. It's going to turn those muscles on, get them firing. So even here, breathing even before I pick up the weight. I'm just leaning back into these guys, bracing my spine, get my brain talking to it. That's where you need to be. That's what you need to maintain. Get her done. So spreading the floor. Holding that pubic bone back a little bit. Now it's very easy for me. Just let go. Do one of these. Doesn't even hurt. I see so many people doing this. They're getting away with it for years. Notice the difference? What am I doing? The big thing. Hi-ya! Spartan kick. Pushing hard into the ground. Almost like I'm about to hop backwards. That much force down and forward on my way down. We reverse the pulley system because then we're switching to the glutes, hamstrings to push the ground away. Spine is staying, it's a little forward. Torso angle is a little forward. If you really start bending from the spine, you're gonna drop the kettlebells. That's why I love it. Same with barbell. If you're up here in the rack position and you can't squat straight down, you start bending from your spine. So weight is a good teacher. Yeah. Don't ignore the weight. Foundation training skills will be applied practically. Sometimes foundation training is like this concept out there. Not really a real life concept. This is a little more real life. Apply the principles. So I'll show you what the band does here in a second. Let's get a couple of these in. Feeling it. In front of my hips. The depth, you notice, is not as deep. Especially in our daily life, you don't really need to get that deep. We're not little kids anymore, hanging out here. That's a good posture when you're just sitting, hanging out. It's fine to do. When you're gonna lift, even from here, the quick fixes. I'm gonna pop my butt back and up, pulling that curve into the neck, tighten the front of the neck, curve in the low back. So you can even course correct at the bottom. It's harder, but if you've just been down there hanging out, watch my little son pick up stuff, it just automatically does a hinge. Every time he'll pick up something like that. Sometimes he's looking at something, he's down there, maybe he does a little bit of flexion, but better posture than this, he's hanging out down there. His butt's way down there, right? Yeah, they're a little proportioned differently, but they start out with the right mechanics, then they watch you move around with your faulty movement patterns, and they start mimicking you. And they're like, well, mom had these genetic patterns, so I have them. Or maybe this watched you learn how to move. And that's why you have them. Maybe I'm wrong. Prove it to me. Stop blaming mom for your problems. All right, band. Right here in the QL. It's going to maintain on the lumbar curve. Get over here, boys. It's awkward getting these up, but you want to, well, let's move you if I can reach you. Just a little better angle there. There we go. So I'm going to walk into this a little bit. Not too much where I'm breaking anything. So a little bit of curve there. So do your squats. It's going to help me maintain some curve in my low back. Like I said, you want a ton of tension. You want enough. Now for me, this is especially helpful, not with so much the squat, because I'm pretty good there. Where I struggle, just overhead. Getting those weights overhead, and then squat. Big breath. Just keep backing into it. If you're feeling like, or you're curving out or you're getting some pain there, again, that's supporting you. It's reminding you where your low spine's supposed to be, not letting it bottom out, not letting the pelvis tuck and the spine flex. But getting to the point where you can do that overhead without the band, but just feeling it. It's a similar idea what we did lifting the heels. Put like 2x4s into the heels, do the overhead squat. Overhead squat just exposes all these biomechanical issues. For me, I'm shoving on people all day long. This is all tight and rounded. No matter how hard I try, I'm always tight lats. So getting that shoulder mobility without thoracic extension. So I'm like, oh yeah, I get my arm up until I start to squat, and then it falls forward. I realize I don't really have shoulder mobility, it's my spine that's doing it. So watch out for that. Guys, that was a good workout. Hopefully that little connection with the feet helped you. We'll talk more about it. Spreading the floor, whether you're hinging or pressing the ground away, grabbing it, dragging it behind you. The foot drag. Doing that in a lunge too. Also spreading the floor. And the inward anchor can be confusing. That's kind of what they start you with in foundation trainings, what they spend the most time on talking about. That's always done, not in a squat. I guess you can do it in a squat, but mainly they teach it, what? In the founder, with the hips internally rotated. It just builds into that well. Gets that spiral chain really working. We're just working on the hips going into our founder. Now I can really work on raising my shoulders. Getting a little extension in my spine, but not overextending, right? Don't let the head overextend. Kind of that old school foundation training, right? Hips turned in, pressing the ground away. Driving, turning out the front of the legs, stretching the back. Same thing coming out. A lot of people just flop out of this. That might be the easier part for you. Grip the ground, pull yourself out. Grabbing the ground, pulling it behind you. There we could add the inward anchor, or hugging the floor. Setting up that hip internal rotation. Talk about that more in a future day. Hang loose. It's not going to fix you right away, but in 10 years, you'll look back and you'll know. Dr. Klein was right. Foot feels so much better than when I walked in this morning. Long day working on patients, wrecked the foot. It's all swollen, it's all achy. People are like, oh, I gotta stay off of it. It's not tight, it's weak. I said last week. Go back and watch that one. Say that to yourself all day long. It's not tight, it's weak. Changes your perception, what you're focusing on. Strengthen, 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 strengthen. It's weak. It's injured because it's weak. It's not tight, it's injured. It's painful, there's injury. It's pain, there's injury. If it's injured, it's not strong. Most of the time. Sometimes it's super short, super hypertonic. You'll know you've injured that because you did something abnormal. Tried to run, tore it. You're just rolling out of bed, you're waking up that way. It's injured, it's weak. It's injured, it's weak. Take care.